Hey everybody, Silly K here, and just to let everybody know that I'm not dead, I'm going to make me a German chocolate cake today. And in case anybody was wondering, German chocolate cake has nothing to do with Germany at all. Years and years ago, an employee of Baker's Chocolate by the name of German came up with a different kind of chocolate, and he made the cake and it was named after him. It used to be German's apostrophe S chocolate cake, but now they just call it German chocolate cake. And this right here is the chocolate that's used. Nowadays a lot of people just use regular chocolate, but the cake doesn't turn out the same. And anyway, I'm going to make this cake now. So what I have in here, I have 2 cups of sugar and 2 cups of butter. And I'm going to cream this together first. And actually, this is one of my favorite cakes, and it's about the only cake I make that doesn't look like an 8-year-old made it. So I have my butter and sugar creamed, and I have 4 eggs separated, and so now I'm going to start adding the egg yolks one at a time. Or thereabouts. Now I've taken my bar of chocolate and I have melted it in 1/2 cup of water, and so I'm going to add that to my mixture right here. Along with 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Homemade. I have my oven preheating to 350 degrees. Now normally I would make this with 1 cup of buttermilk, but I bought my buttermilk a while back, and I really haven't had the energy to make this cake, so instead I made some buttermilk pancakes and I think put together some buttermilk biscuits. So what I'm using is powdered buttermilk, and what I have in here, I have 2 cups of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 4 tablespoons of powdered buttermilk. But if you don't have that, then just go ahead and use 1 cup of buttermilk. So I'm going to add the dry ingredients to this, and after I get it beaten up, I'll add the cup of water that goes with my powdered buttermilk. Now I'm going to add my water to this. So I scraped my bowl down a little bit, and I'm just giving this a thorough mix. And to those 4 eggs that I separated, I have beaten stiff the egg whites, and I'm fixing to fold these in just a minute. And you only want to fold them in, you don't want to stir them in. Now normally this will be a 3-layer German chocolate cake, but I don't have 8-inch pans, so I'm going to be using 2 9-inch pans. I used to have some really nice 8-inch round Pyrex cake pans, but those were in Texas, and I sent my nephew the money to send me my things, which amounted to about $5,000 worth of stuff. And I sent him the money, and he just cashed the check and kept my stuff. So eventually I'll get around to finding some. I think I found some on Etsy, but I don't have the money to get them right now. So what I've done is I've taken these pans and I've greased them with some Crisco, and I cut a piece of parchment to put in the bottom of them, and then I dusted them with cocoa powder. So now I'm going to put these, put the batter in the pans and then get them in the oven, and I'm going to cook them for about 30 minutes at 350 degrees. Now while my cake is baking, I have separated 4 eggs, and I'm just going to use the yolk only. 1 can of evaporated milk, and 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. And I'm going to whisk this together. And I know there's a lot of stuff in here, a lot of eggs, but I have chickens, so they lay the eggs for me. And if everybody was smart, they would have stocked up on flour and sugar, and especially chocolate and stuff, before all the prices went up. And the thing is that they're really not going down, and if they are, you're getting less and less for your money, because all these companies, these big food corporations, they've taken advantage of the pandemic and decided to use less of the good products and put more junky, crappy stuff in. And even Costco's butter, their Kirkland butter that they're selling, they're adding a lot of water to it, so people aren't having good results in their baking that calls for a lot of butter and stuff. But I have a lot of butter in my freezer that I bought a long time ago, before they probably changed the recipe. So anyway, and the fast food industry is just turning people into little porky pigs. You know, I really don't buy a whole lot of canned foods and stuff. I buy canned tomatoes and corn and refried beans and stuff like that. But as far as frozen dinners and frozen meals and everything, I do not buy that. I make my own. It takes a little more time to do, but if you're a relatively good cook, you can do a lot of prepping the day before, and then you won't have so much work to do whenever you finally get around to doing it. So what I'm going to do now, I've got the vanilla and everything in here, and I'm going to add 1 3/4 cup of, or rather, hang on. Yeah, 3/4 cup of butter to this. I'm going to put it on the stove and cook it till it thickens up, which will be about 12 minutes, and then I'm going to add my shredded coconut and some pecans to this. You can leave it out because this stuff is great all by itself, and I hate to say it, but whenever I make cupcakes with this, I always end up with a lot more frosting, and I just put it in the refrigerator and just pig out on it. Shame on me. And if you buy any of your products that you use in Asian cooking, you really want to take a look at the ingredients and exactly where it comes from, because China puts a whole lot of bad stuff in their food products. So if you buy glass noodles or anything like that, or soy sauce, you have to be really careful where it's been bottled at and where it came from. Um, the other thing is your vegetables. Um, make sure you know where your vegetables came from. Fortunately, we have a lot of local growers here that grow cabbages and stuff like that, but also in a lot of your chocolates and your cinnamon and everything, especially the stick cinnamon. If you're not getting true cinnamon, well, you need to pay attention to that too, because Ceylon cinnamon is rolled really, really tight. And what they're doing with the cinnamon sticks is they're adding lead to it to give it more weight so they can make more money from it. And a lot of the chocolate and stuff that's grown, they set them, especially like in Madagascar and stuff, and same with your vanilla, they set them on the side of the road to dry since it's so warm there. And most of the lead that you're getting in your chocolates and other heavy metals are coming from the road, and some of it comes from the soil. If it's in the soil, naturally the plant's going to take it up when it grows. But so that's where a lot of the lead and heavy metals are coming from in your chocolates and stuff. But fortunately, there still are a few companies that are buying good sourced coffees and vanilla and chocolate, but all of that stuff is just skyrocketing, and it has to do with a lot of it has to do with climate change and the destruction that's being done to the crops because of cyclones and stuff. And also, when you buy ground coffee, uh, you're not necessarily getting all coffee. You might be getting a lot of sawdust and stuff in there, or ground up macadamia shells and so forth. So when you buy coffee, you need to buy whole bean coffee. And that way, if it looks like a coffee bean, more than likely it probably is. And like, I never buy, I probably once in my whole life ever bought a jar of Parmesan cheese. But your Parmesan cheese that you buy in the jar at the grocery store, it probably has a lot of sawdust in it, which they put on the package as cellulose. And there's no limits on how much cellulose that they can or cannot put in food products. So everybody just needs to start reading their labels nowadays and try to avoid buying prepackaged foods, and you'll have a few less fat children and fat husbands. And like I said, there are pioneers that made all this stuff from scratch a long time ago, and I don't recall seeing a whole lot of obese pioneers. So I've got that on the stove right now, heating up, and it should only take about 12 minutes to do that. And the other thing is too, when you buy tea bags, loose tea and tea bags, which I have a lot of, I found out that you're mostly getting the duff that's on the floor after they sift the tea out. And so I do have my own tea plants growing, but I haven't gone back to check on them in a while. And I just recently started drinking a lot more tea than I normally do. I'm trying to give up sodas and a lot of the stuff. And then your honey too, your honey products, there's no regulations on what to put in honey. And so there are ways to tell if your honey is pure or not, but 9 times out of 10, they have added high fructose corn syrup to it and other things. So, and I just watched a thing not too long ago on how China makes their own honey, their own fake honey, that they sell as pure honey. So, you know, the world is just becoming a regular poop hole. And if they can't get you one way, they'll get you another. And one way they really get you is in the food industry. So just be careful of what you buy and always read your labels. Now I've just taken this off the stove, and so now I'm going to add my coconut, and I have ground pecans that I'm adding to mine, but most people just add chopped pecans. And this German chocolate bars are getting harder and harder to find in the grocery store, but you can always order it online, and the instructions are always on the package themselves. And as this cools, it will thicken up considerably. And so there's my German chocolate cake. I ended up having to cook the cake for about 45 minutes since I had it in just the 2 pans. But if you're going to use 3 pans, you only need to cook it for about half an hour. So anyway, I'm going to wait for this to thoroughly cool, which I didn't, which I should have, but I want to have a piece of it before too long. Anyway, I hope everybody's well, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.